The sixth batch of the Israeli prisoners of war have been released today from Gaza, with two of the Palestinian resistance movements releasing them, the armed wing of the PIJ, the Al-Quds brigades, and the armed wing of Hamas, Al-Qassam brigades. In return, Israel released 369 Palestinian prisoners, many of them who had life sentences and many from Gaza as well. Some of them were describing the horrors in the Israeli prisons. One of them said that even hell is too small to describe what we faced. One of them lost a limb. He went in with two legs, got out with one leg. To that level, the level of torture of the Palestinian prisoners is beyond imagination. These people have been suffering with so much abuse in the Israeli prisons, and not enough is highlighted when it comes to the suffering of the Palestinian prisoners. However, this was something that pushed the Palestinian resistance to carry out these operations against the genocide entity, to release their prisoners suffering so much in the Israeli prisons. One of those who was released today was Alexander Trufanov. I'm going to get to the details of Alexander Trufanov and the Russian feedback that made Israel furious after his release. But firstly, we're going to start off with some of the messages that the Palestinian resistance intended to send Israel during this release. So firstly, they had this stage, and on that stage they had multiple images. One logo or image had the late Yahya Sinwar, who was sitting on the sofa looking at Jerusalem, saying that we won't migrate to anywhere but to Jerusalem, signaling that they are continuing up until the liberation of Jerusalem. Then we've had an image behind the Palestinian resistance fighters and the representatives coming from the Red Cross with some Arab countries' flags behind them. However, what was very notable was the fact that Hamas positioned the Egyptian flag exactly behind the Palestinian fighter or senior figure signing the release agreement with the representative of the Red Cross. This was deliberate, and this was intending to send a message to Israel and show solidarity with the positions that are coming from Egypt. Other countries' flags too were there, such as Algeria, Jordan, and Lebanon too. However, the fact that they positioned that Egyptian flag there signals very much the importance of Egypt when it comes to this. And that Egyptian flag was carried by a fighter going to liberate Al-Aqsa, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, again signaling that we're having shifts when it comes to the countries involved, and they are envisioning this as the future from a Palestinian side. Another message that they sent was, well, the gear, much of the gear that the Palestinian fighters were wearing was taken. IDF soldiers on the 7th of October. Israeli prisoners who were released, they had multiple speeches. One of them was, of course, Alexander Trufanov, who said that we call on the leaders of both sides to continue down this path to end the suffering and continue and releasing all of the Israeli prisoners and the Palestinian prisoners as well. And after that, of course, they were handed to the Red Cross. In addition, they've had images of the locations that the Palestinian resistance attacked on the 7th of October, saying that we passed swiftly, indicating that it was an easy task for them. And again, showing Israel that this is what we've done, and only through negotiations you reach this stage, not through genocide. And Israel did not rescue these people through its barbarism inside of Gaza. And Israel, on the other hand, tried to send messages to the Palestinian side and the world, but their messages were miserable. They were putting the Palestinian prisoners who they were abusing with this shirt that had the Star of David, saying that we will not forgive and we will not forget. And Palestinian prisoners who were released were seen taking them off upon their arrival and burning them in the streets. And Israeli Channel 12 had a comment on this. They said that dressing the prisoners like this is bankruptcy and a sign of clear weakness. We have to resort to these pathetic measures to get the message across. They're doing this to cover up, of course, the loss, the humiliation, and the failure when it comes to Gaza. Then today also marked the deadline. Donald Trump, he gave a deadline. He said Saturday, 12 o'clock, if all of the Israeli prisoners in Gaza are not released, there's going to be hell to pay. But all of a sudden, he made a declaration. Yesterday he said he was going to make an important statement. Today he made that important statement. What was that important statement coming from Donald Trump? Israel must decide what to do regarding the ultimatum to release all prisoners, and we will support them with what they decide. That's the hell of Donald Trump. Passing the deflated ball into the genocide state's court. And what did Benjamin Netanyahu do? Benjamin Netanyahu had an urgent security and political cabinet meeting to, of course, start to discuss the response and what are we going to do. But as the ultimatum expired, Netanyahu issued a message of appreciation to Donald Trump, but he said, no, we're not going to violate the ceasefire. So much for the loudmouth Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and their promises for hell. That's the hell that they were talking about, again proving that all of these statements were nothing but empty threats, scare balloons, trying to get more out of the Palestinian resistance, who knows them very, very well. And that's why, of course, they continue. It's again proving the statements that came from Hamas earlier today that they weren't really bothered that much. They said, we received guarantees, and these guarantees will prevent Israel from escalating. And after Benjamin Netanyahu's statement, we clearly saw what that means. Empty threats. Moving on to Lebanon. In Lebanon, we had a dangerous escalation. Today, for the first time since the ceasefire in Lebanon, Israel carried out a targeted assassination. A targeted assassination, reportedly killing a man called Abbas Ahmad Mahmoud. And Israel Katz, the Israel defense minister, claimed that the man was one of the leaders of the air and missile forces of Hezbollah. So their drones, their missiles, and what have you. There has been no verification of his position, but this was published. Why is Israel doing this now when in 3 days the deadline is supposed to expire for their presence in Lebanon? Israel is trying to create more tensions and escalate before the funeral of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah and Sayyid Hashim Safiuddin, who were assassinated during this war. Their funeral is going to take place on the 23rd. It's going to be a very large event in Beirut with visitors from 73 countries, expected to have hundreds of thousands of people. They want to keep them anxious, saying that, hold on, they might attack us. And they want to potentially put people off going to that funeral, because there is no real intention apart from that. And from Hezbollah's side, there wasn't a confirmation yet. Is Hezbollah still delaying this? That it could be the timing of their publishing, or it could have specific reasons, but we haven't had a lot of elaboration. And it does not look like this will be breaking the ceasefire or escalating things to a level where it will completely reach an actual war again with Lebanon. However, things are very fragile, and the Lebanese are furious over the fact that, Israel has so much when it comes to influence now in Lebanon, to a level where the Lebanese authorities are preventing some of the Iranian planes from coming in. And these indicate that the United States and Israel are still trying to cause this internal war, this internal civil war inside of Lebanon, but to this moment, it didn't reach a stage where things are looking to completely explode. Which leads us to the following thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the Russian response regarding the release of Alexander Trufanov that made Israel furious this time. What did they do? Russia thanks Hamas, welcomes the release of the captive citizens inside of Gaza. What did Russia say? They said, we thank the Hamas administration for its decision. That was from the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. He said this to reporters in Moscow. And also Maria Zakharova, the foreign ministry spokesperson, she expressed gratitude for the Palestinian side as well as Qatar and Egypt for the securing of the release of Trufanov. But no one mentioned Israel. Russia's thanking Hamas, they're thanking the Palestinian side, they're thanking Egypt and thanking Qatar. And no mention to Israel. This made people furious in Israel. Why are they thanking them? But this is indicating how close the Russian side is, both to the Palestinian side and the Palestinian resistance too. Trufanov was held by the PIJ, by Sarai al-Quds, the armed wing of the PIJ, and Hamas, of course, in complete coordination, because Hamas and the PIJ, they're strategic allies inside of Gaza. They work in a lot of harmony, both of these groups, in terms of coordination, fighting Israel, and the resistance in Gaza that consists of approximately 13 armed groups. They also work together in harmony completely, and this shows Russia's position and Russia's intentions when it comes to Gaza and Palestine as well.